This week, on the season finale of Moulz and Mel at the Movies, we discuss the 2005 film Get Rich or Die Tryin', directed by Jim Sheridan and starring Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Terrence Howard, and Joy Bryant. A tale of an inner-city drug dealer who turns away from a life of crime to pursue his passion, rap music. But what will come of his passion? This week on the season finale of Moulz and Mel at the Movies, let's go see Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Welcome to the season finale of Moulz and Mel at the Movies. This is Moulz. Mel, how are you?
I'm good. But it's not about us today. We have a guest.
Yeah, we have a very special guest. She is the co-host of both the And Introducing podcast, as well as Infinite Cast. I'd like you to please give a warm rap rankings welcome to our very special guest, Molly Mary O'Brien.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I didn't know you guys like live produce the sound effects the whole time. And so
Yeah,
I'm just really
live.
impressed. This is awesome. I thought this was just like a really hefty post process for you.
Well, it is
so
that
this is
too.
beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, we
Well,
got this
especially
nifty
when,
soundboard here. So
Our platform
I mean, of course,
loses
this is
the soundboard.
This is a real audience. Also, you're just piping in that sound for real from your studio audience, right? I just can't see them.
Oh yeah, they're in the back.
they're
We
definitely
just
here.
we kind of
Dan Wolf
broadcast a
is
closed
sitting over
circuit.
there, and we got our guy Shine, and plenty of they know who they are. They're definitely really in the audience for sure. But I'm admittedly still a bit kind of I guess flabbergasted. I watched the film last night and I've been thinking about it ever since. So I'm excited to talk about it because I'm hoping that between Moulz and Molly I'll be able to make sense of this thing because it wasn't like nonsense, but it was kind of disorienting.
Well,
but,
you know what, Mel, that you mentioned that at points I felt like I was watching Kill a Season with like $100 million budget.
Yeah, that's a comparison. I mean, yeah, there's
in a way that I didn't while I was watching 8 Mile, even though both of them were directed by Oscar-winning directors. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. We got to go through the rating system first.
Oh, right. Yeah, we might have new listeners. So I apologize, Molly. You might already be familiar with the system, but we like to just, go through it again in case anyone who's listening. So I'll be brief. It's adopted from, the rap ranking system. So the rating system's simple. Each film's rated on a scale of 1 to 10. These numbers do not reflect the quality of a film, as that is indeterminable. Instead, each number reflects a level of enjoyment. In short, here's what each number means. 10 means it's a perfect film to me, one of my favorite films of all time. 9 means I love it. 8 means I like it a lot. 7 means I like it. 6 means it's alright. I don't dislike it, but I can't say that I like it. 5 means I feel practically nothing about it. 4 means it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I dislike it. 3 means just I dislike it. 2 means I hate it. And 1 means I absolutely can't stand it. One of the worst things I've ever seen. Side note, you could add a plus or a minus to those numbers. They have no mathematical or statistical value. They're just indicators that mean one of two things. One, it's like saying a strong or light version of that number. So like a 6 plus, strong 6, 7 minus, light 7. And it's also like sort of an indicator that it could go up or down in the future because none of the ratings are static on the show. We got the whole segment dedicated to changing ratings called I Was Effing Tripping. So don't worry if you change your mind in the future. That's just life. That's how it goes. So you hear that 6 plus, it could go up to a 7 one day. It could drop to a 5. You never know. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's
we always like to give
ever
the
done
guest
the rating system.
We give the guests the opportunity if they'd like to rate the song first. It's always our pleasure to allow the guests to set things off.
To start the whole proceedings.
Yeah, if you'd like. I mean, if it's too much pressure, we'd gladly
It's not too much pressure. It's not too much pressure. I've been thinking about this because I do know your rating system because I have listened to the pod in the past.
I want to thank you for sitting through the 8-hour odyssey that was the Take Care review. I apologize. That was my fault because I'm a Drake enthusiast.
Apologies.
And I got out of
apologies needed.
I got out of control.
That was a journey. Yeah. That took me on a journey. That was like that. I broke that up into like 5 different listening, at least different. I was going on walks. I was doing the dishes. Like I feel like that really took. I loved it. I really loved it. Ranking, I'm gonna give this movie a 6. I'm gonna give it a solid 6.
Okay. I respect that.
And we can get into why. Actually. We can obviously get into why. But thinking about it, 6 feels right to me.
Okay. Moulz, you wanna go next?
Yeah, and first I would just like to issue an apology to my captain, my superior, 50 Cent.
Okay, G-Unit soldier,
I
you
have
can't
to be
pull
honest.
this shtick now because we got someone who's not, you can't. Molly, this guy, he's brainwashed. He's fanatical about this guy.
Please don't listen to him. The truth is that, he likes to call me a stan, but I always argue, would a stan not like songs from the artist they stan?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's fine to have an affiliation with a whole team or a whole vibe. That's human nature to want that,
Yeah. Listen, I am a G-Unit soldier. I'm not a stan. But even if you talk to people in the military, some of them are critical of the military. I mean, and they're in the military. So, I'm going to be one of those soldiers who keeps it real on the battlefield and say, listen, 50, this was your first shot in Hollywood. All right, you had the esteemed Jim Sheridan at the helm. It's a 7+, though. It's a 7+. It's a 7+.
Wow.
Ooh.
I got to say, it's probably on par for me with 8 Mile, even though they have different issues with them that keep them from going to that next level. So I'm going 7+, 50. I'm sorry. I'll get into why once Mel gives his ratings.
Okay. Well, I'm close, but a little bit under that. Flat 7 for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm on the low end. Interesting.
Yeah, but you know what? Like
that might be a first for a guest in general in history.
Wow.
Where the guest is lower than both of us.
Well, we love that because a lot of guests come on, usually for things that they're,
they
really that they love. So usually it's like, oh, we're giving it a 10 or a 9 or something like that, which is to be expected. But
sure.
I got to say this 6 is not crazy at all because there were many times during this film where I'm like, is this going to get a 6? Like, I don't know. It's just, we can just get into it. We can just start getting into it because this is, All
right, we got to talk about Terrence Howard off the bat. Just right off the bat, he's the first person we need to talk about in this film.
Okay. Well,
he walked off the set. He walked off the set of Hustle and Flow.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him a different outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And he played the exact same character. And I'm pretty sure he played the same character in Idlewild the year after as well.
Terrence Howard's mid-aughts were basically this guy. Like, he was this guy for like 3 years.
He got typecast
but it's an interesting guy.
It is, he's just like this Southern-esque character who's down to earth, but also like has this underlying instability that I guess is compelling to see on screen, but in real life I would be concerned. He's in here, and I just want to point out like just up top, the pacing of this film is probably the most disorienting thing about it for me. Because, I mean, I don't know. It's like
we speed to a climax at the end. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, what?
Well, yeah. We're getting there. Trust me. Like, yeah, the end is a clown show all to itself. But 20 minutes in, he's already like selling drugs as a kid. And I'm just like, I look at the time and I'm like, wait, there's like a whole hour and 30, like there's a whole movie left. And like, he's already selling shit. So yeah, the beginning, Terrence Howard, he's like freaking out. They do this whole robbery. And I gotta say, this is a film where clearly there are a lot of trained actors in it. And then we have people like 50 Cent, you know, who aren't actors by trade, but you know, he has a
now.
sort of,
I mean, he's a much better actor now, but this was his first role. And just like in 8 Mile, he's playing himself, but he's not playing himself. Instead of his mom being named Sabrina like she was in real life, it's Katrina.
Right.
50 Cent himself doesn't play Curtis, he plays Marcus.
You're right. Yeah. And I think that he has the same sort of, I guess, in rest in peace, of course, the same sort of like raw screen presence that DMX had in Cradle to the Grave to me. Like it's, you know, probably a little better.
I think a little less range though, honestly, because by the time DMX got to Cradle to the Grave, he had developed a little bit more in his arsenal than what he had come in with on Belly, for example.
Right.
This would be more like Belly or even 8 Mile, where it's like they have not had the opportunity yet to sort of grind down their skill set to fit, you know, they're still playing 50 Cent. You still see 50 Cent in every single scene.
But that's the thing about 50 Cent is he's just sort of a character naturally. I mean, you know, Molly, Moulz and I are big wrestling fans, unfortunately. And the thing about 50 Cent is he's kind of a wrestler. Like he's your prototypical like heel or bad guy wrestler. He's just like, he gets on the mic, he taunts his enemies. He's like very built and, you know, he's a bully. It's just, that's the role that he plays in hip hop, you know, and that translates to the screen a lot of times. I mean, talking about the pacing again, I mean, he seems like a really sweet kid at the beginning. And before you know it, he's like, his grandpa's getting him out of jail. And he's like, I'm a gangster granddad. And I'm like, you know, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, they don't show how this relationship deteriorates. He's like, you know, at least my mom wasn't a second rate nigga like you. I'm like, whoa.
The aging up was also wild. The shot where he becomes, you know, a man. I was just like, listen, he looked good in it, and I would say he looked good for I believe he was like right around 30 when he shot this, maybe like 29. And he looked good, like but like come on. Like it was not, they could have maybe used one more actor to do like young teen 50, because I was just like, wow, here is a fully formed dude.
He's in the mirror like as a kid, and they pan over and he's a grown like you said 29 30-year-old adult. But I'm confused because this is never clarified either. Like, pacing aside, I'm not sure what the timeline is here, because it's like, I'm assuming, all right, maybe he's in his late teens, early 20s now.
Issue, Mel, my first continuity error thing that I have to point out.
Okay,
so he's he buys the gun, he goes back home to the basement, and he pulls the gun out and he aims it in the mirror while he's listening to 9mm by Boogie Down Productions. And then as that wipe happens, it transitions to him where we're supposed to believe he's in high school, right?
Yes. Something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because he gets caught with all those drugs in high school.
He's got all these old school rap posters on his wall. And then in the corner, he has a poster for Dilated Peoples. I'm like, wait a second. I don't think the timeline here adds up at all. I think Dilated Peoples came out, their first album came out a year before Get Rich, 2 years before Get Rich or Die Trying. This is insane. So anyway, the timeline continuity issues in this movie with like the music that it references and stuff like that is a little bit off, but I'm willing to forgive it because this isn't supposed to be a straight up biopic, right? We're supposed to suspend
we're taking liberties. It's
bit.
Hollywood, sure.
And boy, do they take liberties. I mean, I got to tell you, every scene where it's like Terrence Howard or he's in jail or they're doing that robbery or there's the mob boss involved in everything, I get real like James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, like 40s action vibes out of those, or like a film noir or something like that.
Right, and these are supposed to be presumably like 80s, early 90s gangsters like that are selling crack to the community, but they're moving around like, yeah, see, we got a code or something. Right. Like, it's and like, yo, what's going on here?
Even the big bad, the guy who eventually is revealed to be the person who killed 50's mother, he's played by the guy who plays Adebisi on Oz. His name is very hard to pronounce, so I'm not going to try. But he played Adebisi on Oz, and throughout the film, he's like, he shows them, like, in the movie, I guess he's supposed to be like the Nino Brown type guy, like he invents crack cocaine, and he shows them, hey, this is what we're doing now. We're selling it like this, but here are the rules. And as the film goes on and 50 starts to rise in the rap world, this guy looks increasingly more and more like Pete Rock for some reason. Like, this is a takeaway that I had when I first saw the film. I was like, wait, why is Adebisi turning into Pete Rock? And by the end of the film, when he's just in like the final showdown between 50 and the man who murdered his mother, Majestic, who's based on someone. I'm not going to say who's based on, because we don't do that here.
Your man's did that. That's actually, from what I hear, your G Unit commandant. He that's how he got in trouble, naming names on records of his. How do you explain that?
Are you talking about 50 Cent?
Yeah.
Well, he's named this person's name before. I don't get involved in street beefs. I don't get involved in those sort of things. And disregard what happens later on in the episode when Styles comes and joins us and I get involved in a street beef. But yeah, this movie just like all of a sudden just decided. I thought the early stuff when he's a kid is actually the best stuff in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably agree with that.
You've got like Viola Davis as his grandmother. And his grandpa, like
the most tired woman on planet Earth.
Oh yeah,
her presence in this movie is so fucking funny. That she's like, I have like 9 kids in my house, age range from like 10 to 20, and they are just draining the life force out of me every fucking day.
Yeah, I mean, just like exuding fatigue in every scene.
Like reconciliation at the end when he's about to go to the concert, and they're like, "Do we really have to do this?" And she's like, "Yes. He must." Like, what?
What's odd about that moment, just to speak about it, it was, she's the only one showing any like, actual initiative. Concern.
Yeah.
Which she should, because like this man is still very much like, it's hot on the block for him. Like, it's not safe to be going out performing diss songs on Majestic's territory. And she outright is like, no, you will not be all right. And I'm like, okay, that was dark. But like, hey, somebody's got to say it. Like, it was very odd to me. And like, that never gets like resolved. He's just kind of like listens to her, but then goes and does it anyway. And I'm just like, what's happening here? Like, is Viola Davis's character the only one with any like sense or awareness? I don't know.
I thought that was going to be the moment where like something kind of cracks in Marcus /50.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I haven't known, like I look in your eyes and I've never known what you've been thinking since the day that your mom died.
Right.
And I kind of thought that might have been the moment that like something would have changed or that he would have expressed himself, because he's a pretty quiet dude in this whole movie. There's not a lot of expressing his emotions, period, which all the women in the movie keep telling him that that's a problem. But then he just kind of like nods and he's just like, I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah, right. It was so odd. It's like,
I just thought it was gonna be the emotional climax. Yeah.
From the first moment you see him, I mean, right after they do that pan, and there's that wipe where he's now an adult, you see him walking down the street, and he's like, lumbering down the street. People are looking at him like, yo, what's this dude's deal? And he just kind of lumbers his way through the rest of the film. His acting isn't very dynamic yet at this point in his career. Mm-hmm. Now, when he would go and really pursue it in like 08, 09, he started to become a better actor. and, you know, elevate the craft a little bit. And speaking of the craft, I just wanted to not talk about the 1996 Witch movie, but rather one thing that I'll give, this film has higher stakes than 8 Mile, but this film also, I think, manages to completely, without it not being a part of the movie, it completely glosses over the craft of rapping. It's not really about rapping. It's about rapping as a means to an end.
It's really not. I mean, one of the few moments of genuine comedy to me is like when after he finishes berating his grandpa and moves out and like gets his own place, he's sitting down, like, you know, doing his raps and trying to remember. He's like, man, I should have wrote this down. And then you get the narration, you know, after 3 hours, my career as a rapper was over. And I'm like, that was funny.
I love that.
Underrated.
Yeah. I really like that. I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to bring this up because, I mean, the reason I picked this episode to be on is because on my podcast, we discussed 50's memoir, From Pieces to Weight. Have either of you read that by any chance?
Okay.
No,
after this film, I wanted to seek it out and read it.
It's really good.
As big of a soldier as I am, I've never read the memoir. I've read his most recent book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
It's sort of like a life advice book and like
self-improvement, self-help sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I would much rather read From Pieces to Weight, personally.
Yeah. He offers some advice in From Pieces to Weight as well, mostly about like business and getting a sort of a small business mindset. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is that in the book, he basically admits that he never he did not grow up wanting to be a rapper. He wasn't, you know, when you see Marcus and he's recording that unbelievable sort of love/sex rap for the girl that he has a crush on when he's like 10. Yeah. You know, that was simply not in 50 Cent's actual life to hear him tell it. It wasn't until he was literally trying to find a way out of selling drugs that he was like, oh, you know, it's another profession that makes a lot of money, as shown by like Notorious B.I.G. is rapping. So I think I'm just gonna do that, which is kind of amazing when you think about it, because it's not like he's, you know, been practicing for years or has lots of like talent and skills under his belt in that sense. And he just kind of like goes and does it. And so when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, they're trying to retroactively make it seem like he's always wanted to rap, but he hasn't, like, it really wasn't until he was like, I want to say in like his early 20s that he's like, okay, this is my exit strategy.
Right.
And it's not just that, it's the fact that, you know, he was signed to Columbia before he was on Interscope and signed to Dr. Dre and put out Get Rich or Die Trying, you know, to the point where I think, what did Jay diss him on Volume 3 or on Dynasty, Mel?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
he had been lingering around with like How to Rob, I think, in like 2000, and you know, he had the Power of the Dollar album on Columbia. So, you know, they don't put any of that in this movie. It's not like he kind of had a little bit of a career going, then he got shot, then he meets Dr. Dre. You get none of that. In fact, he goes to his concert, he gets into a tussle with Majestic, which leads to Terrence Howard shooting Majestic but not killing him. And then 50 Cent is like, it's like, oh, you got to go out, it's time to do your song. And he's like, oh, word. So he leaves and the door closes behind him, and from the green room you can hear the other shot, like he killed Majestic. And 50 just is like, all right, like that was it, that was the start of my new life. And he goes out and he starts performing. He rips off his bulletproof vest. He takes off his tank top, and he's there just, you know, bearing his soul to the audience. And he starts doing Hustler's Ambition. The credits roll. I'm like, wait, what? This was my impression when I saw it back in the theater. I'm like, what a, like, they just
so abrupt.
Yeah, it just like ended on that note after what felt like a really slow second act.
Yeah.
You know, it's the pacing is weird throughout, but yeah, it slows down, I would say, after he gets shot, and, you know, he's kind of working his way back. And then all of a sudden at the end, we're just hit with this barrage of activity. And I'm thinking too, I know it's a movie and everything, but at the end, when Majestic gets shot and killed, presumably, I'm like, so you're just gonna go perform that? Like, there's a whole dead body backstage.
There's a body
like,
in the green room.
There's someone dead, and someone's gonna have to be accountable for this. Like, you're gonna get off stage, you're gonna be questioned by police. Like, this is so unrealistic. Like, you can't just kill people in the green room and then go on stage and it. Like,
no, this is this is like your alternate ending for 8 Mile.
Where I'm like,
killed.
yo, you just disrespected this Papa Doc guy, and we know he's like a violent guy. You think you're just gonna go back to work? They're probably gonna find you in the trailer park and kill you for this. Like, I have to wonder. I'm not a big, I tend to take the movie for what it is, suspension of belief or disbelief or whatever the phrase is. But with endings like these, I just have to wonder, okay, what's happening after the screen goes black? Because there's no way this is plausible. I just it's insane to me to just shoot a man and go and perform like nothing happened. And like, I get the whole thing, like Milo, you pointed out, like throughout the film, all of the women are like, yo, you should open up. Like Charlene, his grandma, like, you should say something. And I get like his whole philosophy was, kind of adopted from Majestic. It's like, love will get you killed. But it's like, clearly you're in love with Charlene. So it's like, why do we not get that emotional climax? Why do we not get that moment of, just outpouring? It never happens.
I feel like the climax is that montage when he's like getting his life back together, which I did find satisfying. Like, I did kind of get excited, nice, but I'm like, that's not. Yeah, it doesn't take it all the way there for me.
Yeah, I don't know. And I gotta say too, and people like, they can love who they want to love, but there's a moment when I guess like he comes back into Charlene's life and things happen very fast, and clearly they're feeling each other or whatever. And there's the moment where, of course, his pal and his crew or whatever gets shot. And it's at this point where I'm talking to the screen and I'm like, Charlene, run. It's like that Chappelle show episode, like, run for your life. Like, I'm like, get away from this guy. Like, don't be a part of this. This is the biggest red flag. It's crimson. It's dripping red. Like, this, don't be a part of this life. But like, hey, I mean, she loves a guy, I guess. And it's like, I mean, I don't know, like, and like she does her best at being, a sort of emotional crutch and moral compass, which she shouldn't have to be, but I guess she just wants to assume this role. And I don't know. It's so odd the way this film proceeds. I just, Moulz, when you told me this was like an Oscar-winning director, and of course this isn't all like the director's doing. I mean,
what's funny is this director. I mean, I know he picked up some Oscars. He made a film with Daniel Day-Lewis in the early '90s. I believe it's My Left Foot. It's called. But I had seen his film that he made prior to Get Rich or Die Tryin', just on a whim, at our local theater in the town I grew up in. They played a film called In America. And
I saw this as well in theaters.
Yeah, In America was like a real tearjerker, man. Like, it was about Irish immigrants who moved to New York, and Samantha Morton's character, the mother, she had just miscarried or something like that, and it was just they move into a building with this guy who turns out to have AIDS, and the kids, at first they're afraid of him, and then they come to love him. I don't know the optics of this film in 2021, how well it would hold up, but it was a good film at the time. It was like, so when I heard that Jim Sheridan was the director for this film, I got very excited because I was expecting, honestly, like a tearjerker. And especially someone like 50 Cent, who, without getting too depressing here, I've always related to as someone who lost their mom at a young age and stuff like that. Like, I thought that there were going to be opportunities to portray this stuff that's happened to him in a way that would be, I mean, maybe Oscar worthy, but I mean, whether it was the directing that didn't land or 50 Cent just having to be the centerpiece of this film, but not really being all the way there as an actor yet. This one, I really feel like your mileage is going to vary based on how much you like 50 Cent and care about 50 Cent. And as a movie about like hip hop, it's not checking all the boxes. Like Hustle and Flow does a lot better at kind of portraying songcraft and stuff like that. 8 Mile, in terms of, I mean, I like this on par with 8 Mile, Mel, but I think that where that film, I was saying like, okay, the cinematography feels like it's a bit much. I feel like this film has no visual identity whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah,
it just feels like it could have been directed by anybody.
Right, which is why I was surprised when you told me he was an Oscar-winning director. Because, like, I mean, other than, like you said, the beginning parts where he's like a kid, you know, that felt most like a film to me in a traditional sense. I mean, the way it was shot, the emotional beats, it's like, okay, it's, you know, it was definitely a lot, because I saw this for the first time when it came out. That must have been like, I don't know, 12 or something. But like, I remember it being, I guess, more like action oriented and violent, but it was very somber watching it this time around, at least in the beginning. And I'm like, this has a lot more weight than I remember, like, you know, with his mom getting murdered and, you know, growing up in this like frantic household. But then it very quickly turns into this just like disjointed gangster crime / love / hip hop story that like has moments where it's entertaining, even though it's just like, to be clear, like clearly there are a lot of things that make my eyebrows raise with this film, but like it gets the flat 7 for me because it's just entertaining enough to where it's like, okay, I'd watch this again, or I'd watch.
It's not. I mean, listen, it's not a bad movie to me at all. I'm more critical of it, I feel like, because I like this artist a lot. I know about this artist, and I'm, you know, almost, I feel like maybe protective over the way that it's not being portrayed correctly. This is not how it should be. But at the same time, the artist in question stars in the movie, and he clearly made a conscious decision to do what Eminem did, and he does not want to do a straight biopic. He wants to do something inspired by, you know, his story, basically, not a beat for beat biopic. And right there is where I had that problem in 8 Mile too. I had trouble separating B Rabbit from Eminem at points, and I have trouble separating Marcus from 50 Cent.
Yeah, I just I would say
the funniest thing though, I'm sorry to cut you off, Mel.
Go ahead.
50 made a movie that it only screened in, I think, New York and LA for like 2 weekends, but it was the movie for the album Before I Self-Destruct. And it's clearly a more low budget affair than this is, but I'm telling you right now, it's a better movie, and 50's acting is better in that film.
Huh. Was this
maybe he should remake this movie again?
With his new skill set. Yeah.
With his new skill set.
I think it could be a TV show. I mean, he has Power Book 2, Power Ghosts. I mean, how about the Get Rich or Die Trying? Break it up and give us more reality and less of the bullshit.
Yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah, listen, we're Moulz and I are Moulz more than me, because he's deeper in it, but I would say we both qualify as Swifties, so we're definitely not against remaking past material. You know, this show consumes most of our time, but we're both itching to hear this Fearless re-recording. So I'm down for it. Like if he wants to pursue that, you know, he's real deep into Hollywood now. I say go for it, 50. You know, because like you said, this is not a great. The way I would sum it up, it's a pretty weakly constructed film, but it's a good piece of entertainment to me. There's enough charisma from 50 Cent. It's definitely well acted in places between like Viola Davis and you know, Terrence Howard, and you know, I think it's a pretty well acted film.
The guy who played the top drug lord, who am I like? Bill Duke.
Oh,
that guy's crazy. I really like that guy's performance when he's like, you know, talking to Kurt, or excuse me, Marcus, when he's visiting him in jail, and he's got this like whispery, like raspy voice.
Yeah, very whispery.
That kind of, you know,
he's doing like the Marlon Brando Godfather sort of thing, where he's just kind
like
of
the ultimate power
delivery.
is people gotta like you know, lean in really close and to hear you. You don't have to like scream. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, this dude is the somehow more like muffled Godfather. Like, you know, because and I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy his performance, but I'm glad you brought him up, because this is one of the things I was confused about, and I was hoping maybe y'all could offer me some clarity here, because, and maybe this is supposed to be left ambiguous, because like one of the final things Marcus's character says, like, you know, I think I was searching for my dad my whole life, but it was really myself. It's never clear. I think it's implied that his father is either Majestic or this like fake Godfather guy, because they both had relationships with his mom, but it's never confirmed.
I think it's more implied that it's the fake Godfather guy.
Okay, because in jail he's like, you know, I couldn't look in your eyes, and you
like
know,
when he shows up to the funeral, he's the first person that Marcus locks eyes with, and he's like, "Who is this guy? What's he doing here?"
Right. Okay. All right. I'm cool with that. I like that, because I was thinking if it somehow is Majestic, then it's like, yo, you killed your dad, and he's backstage while you're performing Hustler's Ambition.
Well, no, DJ killed his dad.
Well, right, DJ did. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, DJ from Hustle and Flow. Yeah. Listen, what's his name? Bama in this? Yeah, Bama. It's all the same guy, really.
It was because Paramount wouldn't license the DJ IP to oh shit, they're both on Paramount. There were some issues, but it's the same character. I'm almost positive.
You know what? Speaking of his character, I completely did not remember this from watching it when I was 12 or whatever, but there's an entire like butt naked fight scene in the shower, like full frontal nudity. And I'm like, yo, Terrence Howard's little mane is like swinging for the whole world to see. And I'm like, how do I not remember this? Like, at all.
It comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere.
No
I was
warning.
Screaming, and it was so violent. And so, like, especially it's like the wide shot, like it's wide static shot of just these guys like slipping in the shower,
right? Violence,
like bumping into each other. One guy trying to stab them. I was losing my mind.
This is what happened with that. The reason I forgot it too is because like a year or two later, Eastern Promises came out, and there's that big bathhouse fight where you see Viggo Mortensen's peen for like a couple of seconds on screen. And I think people forgot about that. Then there's the whole Michael Fassbender thing. That wasn't a fight, but it was just peeing on screen. And people eventually forgot about this.
Trend alert. We've got 2005 Get Rich or Die Tryin', nude prison shower fight, dicks everywhere. 2006 Borat, the naked wrestling in Borat.
That's right, in the hotel room.
And then 2007 naked fight, Eastern Promises. What is the deal with the mid-aughts and them wanting to get a bunch
I've always said, but the mid-aughts were really the golden age. You know, we got a lot of good stuff in those years.
It was a crazy time. Yeah, you know, it was the Wild West a little bit.
I gotta say, you know, like I was definitely like surprised to see it, but I was like, huh, you know, like you don't get much of this. It scored points for me because, you know, I've seen a lot of films in my life, but usually they have that whole double standard where they're reluctant to show, you know, male nudity. And I think the thing is, like, with 50 Cent being a rapper,
open-minded. He's very open-minded.
Right, and that's why I was like, huh, you know, this Curtis Jackson, like, most rappers would be protective of, you know, their brand. It's like, you know, I would think 50 be like, yo, I can't be butt naked in the movie. You got to rewrite that. But like, no, like he went for it, you know, which is nuts to me. No pun intended. Like, so yeah, like I appreciated it in that regard because it came out of nowhere. And I'm like, huh, okay, I guess they did that, you know? But yeah, it's just, there's a lot in this film that just, I guess I'm surprised by. I mean, even I want to say, I guess this is, really happened, but like him getting shot 9 times, the part of me once that like, knows I'm watching a movie, I'm like, this is fake. No one could survive.
See,
this,
I thought that scene
did.
was actually well shot when they go to when he's laying on his side and you see the bullet go through his cheek, and it's almost in like it's like 15 frames per second or something like that. Like it's a little bit slowed down, or it looks a little choppy almost. I thought that looked great. And I'm not saying it was a good thing that happened, but that had that sort of quality that I expected.
It was visceral.
Film.
Like, it's so we just shot
that was
the
an
man
effective,
point blank range.
A very effective scene. And even when he wakes up on the, on like the operating table.
Yeah.
He's like semi-conscious and he hears what people are saying. And he's like, oh, he's a singer or something. He's like, a rapper. And then the camera hands up.
Oh, doesn't he say like, don't do surreal. A tracheotomy to like not ruin his voice because he's like a rapper or something?
Yeah.
I'm like, who took the time to tell this doctor that please, sir, save this man. He's a rapper. He's played like 3 shows.
You're right. He's like, I mean, I respect the move to try to preserve it, but like realistically, his
at
career
this point,
isn't even like established
yet. He's still not even really well known, even regionally, not even within that area outside of the people who were going to his loft parties and stuff.
I want to say too, like on the topic of just like the timeline being inconsistent, like this is around the era where I guess in real life, this would be the late 90s or something as he's working up to like this Columbia
late 90s,
deal that
early
he initially
2000s.
got. Right. He's recording something in jail, like I guess smuggled electronic device, but it looks like a headphone, like with the mic on the cord combo. And I'm like, did they have that in the late 90s? Like, was that
I'll tell you what they didn't have in the late 90s, Lloyd Banks music at parties.
Well, yeah, that's in there. Lloyd Banks is getting played. He mentions in the voiceover, he's like, after Tupac, everybody wanted to be a rapper. But it's like, I mean, Tupac was around in the early 90s, but he wasn't Tupac yet until like, probably around Me Against the World and like All Eyes on Me.
Yeah,
and like he still has like, he mentions like in his like early raps, like NWA and Run DMC in the same breath. And I'm like, okay, NWA was enough after Run DMC to where they looked antiquated by that point. And it's like he had Coming to America and like Public Enemy posters and I'm just like, when does this take place?
That like, reeks of like a studio production designer, like, hip hop.
Let's throw in all the hip hop, right? Like, like, yeah, you get it. It's like, let's throw in Public Enemy. And it's like, it's odd. I mean, even, I was watching, like, someone's watching TV, I think like Charlene in the film, and like John Kerry pops up on the screen. I'm like, oh, John Kerry, I know that guy. But I'm like, okay, so this is like still the 90s or 80s. Like, clearly he's not running for president yet. Like, so it's like, I'm not sure. It doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't ruin the film, but it's very clear.
I notice it. I do notice it.
Yeah.
Though. Like I noticed, this is a completely different movie, but we're sticking to the mid-aughts here. 13 going on 30. There's like a Taxi Driver poster in the background during a pivotal scene. There's a Blue Velvet poster on the wall. And I'm thinking like, this is either the director or the production designer saying like, I don't want to do a film like this. I need to let people know what I really am into. And they just stand out in this movie. Like, it doesn't hurt the quality of 13 going on 30, but it just stands out. I'm just noticing it, and it's a little distracting.
You know what was distracting to me? Or no, go ahead. I'll save this for later.
Oh, I just wanted to ask, because the inclusion of 50 Cent's music in this movie was so deeply confusing to me, because he's recording it in jail, but I'm pretty sure he was singing, and then he's recording afterwards, but I'm pretty sure in the scene where they're doing the robbery of the Colombians, they're singing to his song in the car, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't record that until after he's recovering from the shooting.
Until he's in jail. That's the song he did in jail.
Oh, that's a song he did in jail.
It's
okay.
Like, you're right.
So they're going to do a robbery, listening to and like mouthing along to the lyrics of a song that in the timeline of the film is not going to be recorded until like a couple months later.
Yes. And then even same with when he recorded in jail, again, if that technology exists, I don't know. But also the way they're playing it in the movie, it like sounds like it's the soundtrack, but then you see like the prison guard is rapping along to it at one point, and I'm like, what speaker? Where's the speaker? Like, it was so distracting.
Who has like the system to be
Who's
playing
got
this
the
for the
Bluetooth
whole
speaker?
prison? Yeah, it's nuts. And I'm like, the quality is clearly way too high to have been recorded in a jail cell.
I don't know, officer in prison. I don't know. I just know
I think
that
he did like I'll whoop your head, boy. I think
that's what I thought he did.
But then, like, so that's super inconsistent and distracting to me. But then the scenes where he's recording in the booth, and then also Dangerous, the other like rival rapper, I thought the sound mixing in those was really good. I thought it was really kind of realistic. They kept taking the backing track out, so you would just hear them a cappella. And then at one point there was a shooting in the studio, and it was kind of enhanced by like the muffled sound in the booth. And I thought that was cool. So there's some clever ideas here. And then yet I just keep getting distracted by, I'm like, wait a second, who has access to 50 Cent's music right now? I thought he just put it on a tape recorder.
I think they do this in the film one more time with Window Shopper, because there's the initial montage when he's looking at the window and he's like, oh, I'm going to be able to get this one day. And then
as a kid,
he goes to the dealership and it's playing as a kid. And then it plays again in the montage where he goes to the dealership and he hands the guy the backpack full of money. Yeah. Great scene, by the way. Just like that moment alone. I love that moment where he just, throws him all the cash in the backpack, drives off. First of all, how did you drive off right off the lot? They have to get the key first. They don't have the key in the ignition already for you. They don't know you're coming.
I also want to know when you learned how to drive. Because he said he didn't have a license.
Yeah.
Does he just intuitively understand? Because that's cool.
Window Shopper is a song that played in the 80s or in the early 90s. And then he recorded it as an adult. Everything is unclear other than Best Friend, which they work in. He's, recording the early demo stages of that song as a child.
While we're talking... While we're talking about the car shopping, I just want to share, I think my personal favorite kind of mini scene in this and my favorite bit of 50's performance. This is when he's driving in his Mercedes for the first time and he's just so happy and he's talking to himself. My favorite trope in movies and TV is when men give themselves little pump up speeches in the mirror, and he does it in the rear view mirror, and he's just like what are you looking at? Get the fuck out of my car to like some imaginary guy. And I just thought thought it was so good. Like it felt very real that like he got his money, he got this car, which clearly the car gets him a lot of respect immediately. Everyone seems to love it. And I completely understand why he would act like that. I thought that was real.
He pulls up to the studio and he gives Dangerous his demo. He's like, wait, that's your car? Oh, I'll take your demo. Like, now that I know you're the man who's driving that car, I'm going to definitely give this a listen. Thank you.
Yeah. You must be a good rapper.
Yeah, it gotta be, because you got this Mercedes over here. That was realistic though. That's the music industry. Like it's just it's a very aesthetic, image based industry. But about the music. Before I forget, you earlier talking about distracting things. Did anyone else notice like the mustache he had briefly in the film? It's like, he's in the club with Charlene and he has like the artist beret that he's wearing and like this artist gootee with like this
I love the artist beret.
I did notice that.
Like,
the artist beret look was a highlight for me, I must say.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, this is what we're doing now, and it's like no one ever calls any attention to it. It's like very thick, very comical, and I'm like, all right, well, whatever, I guess he's like, neo soul, like music soul child 50 now. Like, all right. But then it disappears as quickly as it appears. I'm like, okay, I guess it's gone. Like, this is at this rate, like, who am I to question anything in this film? Like, this is
50 went over to the costume designer that day and he's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not dressing like this. This isn't me. And they were like, well, we shot the scene already. We don't have enough money to do a reshoot. So fuck it, we're just gonna leave this in one scene, and we'll change it for the next couple scenes we shoot.
Yeah, so speaking of the song Best Friend, like early on, and Moulz, you know this about me, I have a similar history as a fledgling rapper when I was like 14, where Charlene's stepdad finds like his little demo tape that he made for her with this like way too explicit material for like a 12, 10, however old he was. And like I have a similar story because growing up, like I started rapping because of Lil Wayne. And, I wasn't making sexually explicit raps. I was just making explicit raps like, I'll do this to you, bang, bang, shoot 'em up, put your brains on this part of the sidewalk sort of thing. Knowing that wasn't my lifestyle, but this was the only blueprint and template I had at the time. So I was just imitating that, and what happened was like, I moved back, like I started rapping in Illinois. I moved back to California, and like my dad, he's Marine, he's like deployed at the time. And like when I moved back to like stay with my stepmom until he got back, like I had these raps that I just started writing, and I knew I didn't want my stepmom to find them, and I didn't know where to hide them. And like I had the bright idea to put the raps in my dad's Toyota 4Runner that he had left, obviously as he went to Iraq. It's just been in the garage this whole time. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I'll put it there. No one's going to look there. Not realizing that my stepmom has been in this house alone for like a year and a half. And she would recognize if something suddenly appeared in this truck that's been sitting in the garage untouched for you. So like, of course she finds it because I put it like right in the passenger seat in a bag. And, like she calls me downstairs one day and she has all these raps like spread out like on the table, and I'm like, oh God, like,
oh
it's
no,
over. It's finished. And basically the same thing that happens in the film happens to me, where like she calls my dad in Iraq. This man's been in like a battle zone for a year and a half, so he's not trying to hear that his son thinks he's Lil Wayne now. And he has me, to sort of make me own up to it and, sort of shame me, has me rap these explicit, completely incompatible with my character lyrics to him over the phone. And he's like, this is how you feel. And I'm mortified. But like, as I'm watching this scene, I'm like, oh God, like I've been here before. This is triggering. This is too close to home. But like, I get it. I get it. Like, I totally get it now as a stepdad's listening to this and like looking at his stepdaughter. And like, when the stepdaughter is like, I hate you, like, I feel that too. Cause I'm like, who is this dude? Like, and like, how do you have the jurisdiction to ship your stepdaughter off to wherever like he sent her because her friend is recording sex raps? Like, yeah, you want to protect your daughter from influences like this, but like, there has to be a better way to deal with this than shipping your stepdaughter off, And so like that scene was funny to me because I'm like, yeah, I've been here before. And it's like, you just like, my dad told me years later, he's like, I know I sounded mad, but like part of me, I was very amused that my son was like writing these things, so it's funny because it is amusing. It's like, Charlene asked him later, did you even know what you were rapping about? And he's like, no, not really. Like, and like, that's what's funny about it all. It's like, to tie it up, like, this is not a hip hop movie. Like, it's not even explained how he just like has an interest in rap. And like, he's like clearly pretty good for his age. So it's like, where is this coming from? Where is he developing this? Like, where's this passion just suddenly, it's just, this is the nature of the movie though. Things just happen and you want to question them, but before you can really think about it, something else is happening. And it's just, okay, but there's enough,
Let me ask you this. Do you think in the hands of a director who's a little bit more familiar with the subject matter, things could have been a little bit different?
Maybe. Yeah, I do get the sense that like this is a studio and director that's doing the best with, they recognize the certain like the identity of the film that would make it marketable. So like, yeah, we'll make it. We see the potential in it, but maybe they don't fully understand.
Well, especially with 8 Mile already being kind of a runaway success that it was.
Right. They're like, oh, we can do it again with 50 Cent, But 8 Mile was a better film, pacing, the storyline, there's more to invest in, I guess, as opposed to this.
I agree, but I personally find 8 Mile to be a little bit depressing. I find this movie to be more enjoyable.
Huh.
And that's where they kind of equal out to me with this. I think I gave them the same rating.
Yeah. Do you mind explaining, as a G-Unit soldier, what exactly is happening in, like, on the way to the hospital, where we get like this montage of like a cheeseburger and like it's like sports and it's like, because this, so like my only rationale for this was like like a MTV Films production, I guess, but they just start intercutting all of this footage of just like random, and I guess it's maybe his life is flashing before his eyes.
His life is, I mean, there's also him as a baby. His mom is carrying him.
Right, it's juxtaposed, like the birth fireworks. And also like, yeah.
I mean, but I'm sure if your life flashes before you, maybe you remember a cheeseburger. I don't know. I've never died.
That's unbelievable.
I honestly think it's very presumptuous for you to come on here and judge another man for what flashes before his eyes before he dies.
I mean, listen, it's not a problem to me. I was just confused. I would definitely see a cheeseburger. You know me. I'm in love with grease. I'm a fast food titan. Everyone knows it's about me. But it's just, there is no lead up to that moment. Like, it's never discussed in the film. I would understand if the things that they were flashing on the screen.
I'm going to be pissed, though, if I die and they serve me up a highlight reel of, like, the shittiest stuff I could possibly come up with.
I've always been intrigued by that whole, when you die, your life flashes before you. I was like, okay, so which moments? Is it random? Are there moments that you're fond of? Because, like, if I'm just thinking about the times that, like, my PE clothes were peed on by the bullies in school, or if, you know, it's like the time that this girl came to visit me on spring break and I had a crush on her and she didn't know it, so I freaked out and ran in the backyard. I don't want to remember those things. You know, I want to remember the few W's I had in life. You know, that time I had, you know, the best Mexican food I've ever had, you know.
That might show up. We've seen the cheeseburger. There's precedent for food to show up, you know, and you got how many people can die and come back to life and say that this is what I saw when it flashed, you know?
Not many, I suppose. I mean, I want to know. It's probably not in there, but maybe in Pieces to Wait, he tells the real story of what he saw after he was shot 9 times. I don't know.
I don't think I remember anything in particular that he said, but he had a great line that was basically like, after I got shot 9 times, I started to wonder if maybe I really did have a purpose in life.
Oh, like, right. Yeah. Like, I heard about that. Like, he says that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Totally. I would think the same outlook. Thing. Yeah.
I mean, if I got shot 9 times and survived, it's like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to be here. Maybe.
As a soldier, I can tell you, he says on the album Get Rich or Die Trying, that's when he knew he was here for a real reason, because he got hit like I got hit, and he ain't fucking breathing.
Oh, right. Yeah, which song was that? Was that Many Men?
Many Men. We know you prefer the Bieber version, but
listen. Okay, look. You say this as if I'm a huge Justin Bieber fan. I'm not even. I don't think I like 10 songs of his. That's our for the record. That's like our metric for calling ourselves a fan of someone. You gotta like at least 10 songs.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
But
that's
like
good.
I like a few songs from him. I respect that he's a talented individual. He seems to be a bit of a bozo in his personal life, but I don't know. I've never met him. But yeah, he did a remix. Like a little interpolation of 50 Cent Many Men. And yeah, he has no business doing it, but melodically it was sound. It was good to me.
When was this? I have not heard this.
Death upon him. It was an Instagram exclusive, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess he got enough backlash on the internet that he just decided to not release it. But it was like a couple years ago, I think, like he was in the studio. He played like a snippet of it. I think it sounded good. It was good to me. Okay.
Was he rapping or singing?
Oh, he's rapping.
He's rapping.
And then the chorus, he sings the chorus.
Because I remember he freestyle over the Otis beat like a long time ago. I feel like low key, like he really maybe even would rather be a rapper, but like there's something he can't take it all the way. Scooter's
Braun
holding him
might
back.
Be encouraging this. I don't know. Or yeah, maybe he's
there's actually I think that tracks, because I think there's some truth to what you just said, because when Justin Bieber was first getting started, he's been managed by Scooter Braun the entire time. Scooter Braun's other client was Asher Roth. And
oh, really?
Wow.
And Asher Roth was almost like a big brother to Justin Bieber. He kind of mentored him a little bit. You know, he kind of co-parented him with Scooter Braun. And I think that he wanted to be like Asher, but, you know, we know what happened to Asher, and Scooter used Asher as a cautionary tale to show Justin just what might happen.
What happened to Asher is unjust. Good rapper. He was before his time, I think. Before we got like this sort of, there's a certain subset of hip hop that I think he would fit perfectly in right now that's appreciated enough for him to have a livelihood. He came too early. You know, it wasn't time yet for Asher Roth. You know, it's just, anyway, this isn't white rapper Asher Roth. Best of love to Asher Roth. I pulled up the thing. I've already played it once on the show, but I'm a big fan. I gotta play it again. This is Molly. If you've never heard it, this is Bieber singing "Many Men."
It's one of the worst things you'll ever hear.
I can't wait.
Wish death upon me. Blood in my eyes, dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be, and people try to take my life away. I don't hope.
I mean, who's trying to take his life away?
Who's trying to take his life away?
You know, but
maybe
he's a very safe boy. The Selenators.
Right. That's who's trying to take
Molly,
his life away.
I gotta tell you something about the Selenators, all right? Just because you brought them up. I am so sick and tired of having to share the floor with the Selenators just because Taylor is supposedly best friends with Selena Gomez. We don't care. We don't care about Selena Gomez. It's just stop being Taylor Swift's best friend so I can stop having to hear about you. The fact that the Swifties respect the Selenators just because Taylor is best friends with Selena Gomez is an affront to all things Taylor Swift, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not going along with it.
We don't care.
There you go.
I think that's fair.
In the Stan Wars, I pretty much stay out of it. I mean, I guess I would consider myself an Aubrey's angel, but I've retired. I'm retired. I stepped back from the battlefield. You know, I still care. I'm a card carrying member, but I don't get in the wars. But the Aubrey's Angels, we don't really have a presence like that. We're not like the Barbs or the Selenators or the Arianators. Every time I hear that, I think like Aryan Nation. She might want to work on that.
Yeah.
It's a little odd to me. I mean, you know, I'm a black man, so maybe it's just me. I don't know, but you know, there could be something different, like the I don't know the what's it the real pronunciation I heard is Grandy. It's never been Grande. It's Grandy. So like I don't know the Grandiosos or something. Grandy's
Fandies. There we go.
I like it. I like it. You know, just something else other than the Aryan Nation. I just you know,
everyone knows I'm a G-Unit soldier. I'm a Swiftie. I'm a Devon's dude, and I'm Infamous Mob, and I'm a what do you call a DJ Quick Stan?
You called them Quicksters, right?
Quickster, yeah, I'm a Quickster. So that's it. And don't be saying I'm anything else.
Well, I won't. I definitely won't.
Oh, and I'm a Discoverer because I don't celebrate the whole Daft Punk catalog, just that one album.
Just that. Oh, okay.
So I'm a Discoverer.
Oh God. Well, I mean, I've belonged. You know, I've belonged to some fan communities in the past that I just, you know.
There's some people we've had to abandon. It's just the fact of the matter.
It's a running bit on the show, Molly. We come from a cult. We were in a cult once, and it was dark. Just there was a guy once, and we don't even need to talk about it.
Okay? No, I got it. Who's the guy?
It's okay. We call him Hamilton on this show.
Okay.
His name is Hamilton. Should I just say it, Moulz? Just say it. All right. So there's a rapper by the name of Charles Hamilton.
Okay.
And it's a very dark tale. We became stans of this man because we didn't know everything about this man. But to be clear, he's a tortured soul, to say the least. You know, Moulz, how did I describe him? I did it very succinctly a few weeks ago. Charles Hamilton is a Cleveland-born, New York-raised, sexual assault, incest, survivor who's also a bipolar paranoid schizophrenic.
Okay.
There you go.
So, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that comes with him.
He's got a lot on his mind.
We didn't know this at the time, you know, and he's a very talented man. Okay, and so, and of course, with him suffering from the things he suffers from, he's deteriorated throughout the years. But at the time, we just thought he was very eccentric, very talented. And, you know, he had a group of fans. His fan community was called Star Chasers. We didn't claim the name. Moulz
I didn't.
but
I never liked that. I never liked it. For the record, I never called myself that. I drew the line. I'm not calling myself a Star Chaser.
Yeah, it's just we weren't calling our, but we were by definition of what it took to be a star. We put in
were
the
not
work.
calling ourselves Star Chasers, but we were in a Facebook group called Star Chaser Lounge. So I don't know. Draw your own conclusions, I guess.
I was in two. I was in the lounge and Star Chaser Central. You know,
I guess that's like having a Stormfront account. It's like, I'm not a Nazi.
No,
but,
it's like you clearly are. You are.
We're in the Stormfront group on Facebook, but we're not Nazis.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's just, and we spent a lot of years following this man's musical and personal exploits. And we both kind of around the same time realized, all right, if there's going to be a time to get off this train, it's going to be soon.
It's going to be when this vampire social network drops.
He launched a social network, was it like the Vampire Vatican or something? And he invited
that was it.
Both him and I, and up until this point, I had gone along with all of his things, you know, because you know, I was a huge fan. I talked to the man on the phone. We had a personal relationship.
Oh my
at this
goodness!
point. I called him.
Oh yeah,
during
this
his
guy
stint.
has slept on my couch before.
Oh
You
wow!
know,
Okay, this is not garden variety fandom.
This is advanced fandom. Yeah, we had a personal relationship. I called the guy in jail when he did his stint in the mental institution. You know, like there was a time, Molly, and I'll just like, I'm ashamed, but like I'm a very open book. He was my rap daddy of sorts.
Yeah.
Like I looked at him as a father figure, as a rapper myself, and the way I looked up to him, I idolized him. I called the mental institution and left a very incendiary voicemail to the poor workers there, where I'm like, that's my dad in there. Like, free my dad. It was very embarrassing, but that's how I felt as I was young. I was 17.
He was young. I mean, to be fair, he was young.
I wasn't young. I was definitely old enough to have not been doing that, but I was young enough to where my favorite artist in person at the time was locked up in the mental institution. And I was just at night like, God knows what they're doing to Charles in there. We got to free Charles. This isn't right. And like, apparently, I guess maybe they've seen a lot of things in there in the mental institution. So they probably weren't bothered by my voicemail, but it clearly didn't bother them that much because I would call and they would put me through to him, you know? And I was talking to him in there and it was just, yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, and it's just
it's a lot.
For what
One
it's
day, we're gonna do a whole deep dive on everything Charles.
And I'm not looking forward to it because I know you've heard the Drake episode. This is a guy who I don't have a personal relationship with, and we went 8 hours. We're going to have to be careful to not make this like a 16-hour episode because
this sounds like one of the like real deep dive like podcast things, you know?
Oh,
like about Dolly Parton or something. You could interview him and stuff. I think this could be good.
No, we can't.
You can't talk to him anymore
because well, it's best of love. I know for a fact he
I will always have love for this man. It's not like we don't have a problem with him at all.
We don't have zero problems with him, but we can't go back. Like we can't re-enter
for our health and his. You know, it's just it's best for us to not
tap
be
back into that. But can you do one thing, Mel? Can you load up?
Sure.
Get the Smurf out of here, so we can actually the audience needs to hear the actual origin of calling this guy Hamilton.
Hamilton.
So this is Ninth Wonder. Charles has unhealthy fascinations and fixations with certain people, Ninth Wonder being one of them. So Ninth commented on Charles in an interview, and Charles used that drop several times to open up some of his songs. And this is it's Ninth Wonder's pronunciation of Charles Hamilton.
Which just comes off as Hamilton. But yeah, this is I'll just play it.
Okay.
Just a little bit of it. God. Moulz.
Charles Hamilton as far as the Wale's the blues.
Get the Smurf out of here. I keep my Smurf head laced up in Rockaware. She don't like it, so she fakes.
He is. What is the term? I learned this in college. Hold on. It's
idiot savant.
No. Art, brute. Outsider art is the best way to. Yeah, he's. Initially, he wasn't that. He was just like alternative hip hop, but he's definitely, as a result of his condition,
he's become the Daniel Johnston of hip hop.
Yeah, very like Wesley Willis-esque. It's just, and so I mean, on that particular record, he sampled Eiffel Blue. He samples that and does this whole metaphor about like his Smurfette, who's like the girl he's dating, and like. He's trust us. He's talented.
I believe it.
But it's just
it's not a road you want to go down. That's
I cannot, in good faith, recommend you or anyone else go down the Hamilton path because you'll hit a wall, and it's just
And he has said some absolutely horrible things on record at this point, and it's because of his deteriorating mental state. It's not because he's a bad
not to
person.
make excuses for him, but like it's very like the unfortunate like the transient on the corner sort of things that he would say, and it's like I can never play this around anyone, like
I used to have a decent
he sounds like a powerful vibe. Honestly,
there's an energy about
an energy.
Yeah, we've definitely said there's music and then there's Charles Hamilton. We can't throw him on a playlist. It just it doesn't work. We've tried.
Its own thing. That's so
it's
funny.
Its own thing.
It sucks all the air around it into it.
Yeah. I mean, we both have stories where, like, in college, I played him for my roommates, and he'll be like, yo, cut this off. Like, you know?
Is that not the worst feeling when you play something that you love, and you're like, hey, check this out, and they, like, don't like it at all? Oh, there's nothing. That's going to flash before my eyes when I die.
Right,
all the times that I'm like, you got to hear this song, and then the person's like, it's okay.
Yeah, we've definitely dealt with that.
We built a show around that, actually.
Yeah,
like, yo, Mel, this is
laugh through the pain.
This is a classic song, Mel, and Mel will be like, 7 minus. It's all right.
I mean, but you know me. It's nothing. It's just songs. We're just expressing our feelings. But like my roommate Seth, who I love dearly, he's looked me in the eye like, yo, this is some of the worst music I've ever heard in my life. And this was important for my development, though. It helped me leave the cult because going to college and being around other human beings and not being locked into my headphones as a teenager, young adult, I needed that perspective.
Yeah.
I needed that, like, okay, what exactly am I listening to? Is this a detriment to me and my emotional development? Like, it was
my
good.
Friends liked Charles. The stuff I would play for them, they would be either amused because he would sample like something that was novel to them, like the Windows startup theme or something. Or, I'd show them like, listen, he can actually rap. And I'd show them like instances where he's actually kind of barring out. But I was in the car. I've talked about this on the show before. I'm in the car with my friend Joe, 2015. I'm playing a song from a new project, and I hadn't even heard it yet, but it was on, I had an iPod with like a recently added playlist, just new stuff I had downloaded, had that on shuffle. This song came up, and he said, "This is the worst song that I've ever heard. Can you please turn it off?"
Wow.
Yeah. That's just.
And he's usually not one to say something like that. But he was irritated by it. I think we figured out which one it was, Mel. It was from like we did. Something The Boy Who Played with Barbie or one of those.
There was a project of his from 2014 called The Boy Who Played with Barbie. And the song, it's on there, and it's
Untitled title is right. Is that right?
Entitled
title.
It's just we really shouldn't be giving people the ingredients to look this up.
Right.
Understand we don't co-sign this. If you happen to hear it, like we've told you this guy's origin, you got to forgive him. He's a tortured soul. But yeah. Listen, I'll just say if people want to know if we're ever going to review Charles more than once, I'll let that boy Joe Biden take it away.
It will never happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Not ever.
So there you go. For the world's sake and ours, it just can't have it. But yeah, so right, 50 Cent, y'all.
50 Cent.
Yeah. Oh God. I guess I should end with the final thing I'll say is with the short time that Charles Hamilton was signed to Interscope, he would walk through the hallways with 50 Cent, and there's an anecdote. I guess Charles told 50 Cent part of Charles's philosophy or ideology. He has the belief that like Sonic the Hedgehog is like almost like a god to him. I mean, like to be clear, like. Mm-hmm. Like he said things like Jay Dilla is his mom, Nicki Minaj is like God, and Beyonce is Silver the Hedgehog. That's the kind of thing we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
But 50 Cent apparently told Charles, like when he was on Instagram, like, yo, you should cop the Sonic the Hedgehog chain. And Charles refused because he's like, and I quote, homie, this is not a game. It clearly wasn't. I wasn't aware that it was a real like religion for him. I was 16. I just thought he was an eccentric. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But yeah, that's the interaction that 50 Cent had with Charles Hamilton. So that's all I got here.
Okay. Well, I think I've said my piece on the film. We're gonna get into the soundtrack soon. But Molly, do you have anything you want to plug? Any shout outs?
Yeah, I'll plug my podcasts. I've got one. They're actually both with my husband Chris. One is And Introducing. It's a podcast about words about music, aka music writing, whether that is a memoir, a biography, a cover story. We've talked about Kanye's tweets before. We do as long as it's written down. And occasionally, if it's a movie, because sometimes we can't read anymore. We gotta go for the movies. But yeah, we talk about it all, and it's very fun. And then we have another podcast that I will plug because you did introduce me as the host of this as well. It's called Infinite Cast. I am reading Chris the entire David Foster Wallace 1996 novel Infinite Jest on air. So it is, and then we talk about it a little bit. The joke is that, it's always men at a party trying to say, wow, you should really read Infinite Jest. Like, it's an amazing book, and like, it's so good, and it really says a lot of stuff about like society. And I want to be like, well, girls can do that too. So it's this is me, a woman splaining David Foster Wallace to my husband. So if you've ever wanted to read the book, I'm doing it. It's going to take literally maybe 2.5 years to finish at the rate that we're doing it. But
awesome. Well,
it's all worth it.
Our number one fan, Dan Wolf, whose profession I can't reveal on the air anymore, would possibly love that.
Yeah, he's a big reader.
Okay.
He's
recommending books
on that
to
Instagram.
Moulz.
So guys, check it out, and check out the Pieces to Wait review on And Introducing. I'm going to.
Yes, please do. We get into it. And I would highly recommend reading the book because 50 Cent's whole writing tone is very, very funny, very dry. A lot of good business advice also if you're starting a business.
Nice. Okay.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure having you here. We'd love to have you on Rap Rankings proper in the future, but until then, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You could play my music. We're going to do our final outro.
Oh, wow. Thank God. Okay. Moulz doesn't have to put up with this music anymore.
I'll do what you like, and I'll do it on the fly.
Oh, the freestyle. Molly, this is great. I think his best work is when he doesn't write the copy and he just wings it.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, Yeah, all right, here you go. Here's the music.
Well, we did it, folks. Moulz and Mel at the Movies reaches its season finale. But what are we going to do in the future? I guess you'll have to tune in again soon to find out. But what were the best movies of Moulz and Mel at the Movies? Oh, well, that's easy. Training Day, Hustle and Flow, Tales from the Hood, Cradle to the Grave, and Soul in the Hole. That's our top 5 right here on Moulz and Mel at the Movies. We'll see you soon. And remember, movies are good.
Hey, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all of the other episodes, check the link in the description, stop by raprankings.com, or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform. And please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us grow the channel and continue our journey as hip-hop's first and premier extreme podcast.